Yes, yes, yes. Welcome to Come Well. Am I as I am, as you are. Love is a negative thing. Love is a negative thing. Love is negative. When I say negative, I don't mean something bad or wrong or impure or evil. It's not what I mean by negative. I mean as the property of negative or the property of negativity, just like the property of positivity. The property, the quality of what negative is according to science, and the quality and property of what positive is according to science. So, what we know as love, LOVE, the process of coming or imbuing it or emanating it or being it is actually to be in a negative state of existence. Okay, we're going to open it up, go right into it. First line of the doorway is according to ancestral interpretation of what is known today and defined today as LOVE, which is love. To be love or loving or love like is to remain in a constant nature or constant state or constant status of what we know as the property and quality of negativity. To be loving is to be negative, or to be in a negative state, or a negative status, or a negative energy, or negative property. To compose this negative quality, or the quality of negativity, is what true love is. Right? It is to be in divine law of negative action. That's what I want to get at. It's a negative action and or negative expression. So true LOVE is to actually be in a negative action or to be in a negative expression. Expressing negativity or expressing the quality and property of what negative is. Psychologically and mentally negative. Negative intent, negative agenda, negative objective. And negative means that it's not positive. Positive is a joining, grouping, clustering, joining, coagulation, or coagulating agent. That's not what love is. So anybody trying to be loving, to find love, you can't find love. You can't find something that you truly are. What you're trying to find, it can't be found. It can only be dug up because it's under so many different layers that you've created for it within you. It is what you are. You can't find it. You can't share it. You can only be it. So to be love is to be purely of the neutral, to be purely of the center of your essence. Being true to you. That's what love is. One being true to yourself. It wasn't looking for love. It wasn't Valentine's Day. It wasn't Hallmark cards. It's not a love show. It's not a love movie, a love story. That's not what it is. That's what we've been trained and taught to think that four-letter word is, but it's not. It's actually, to be negative means it's a letting go. You're trying to let go of everything that you've accumulated, everything that you've gathered, everything that you've collected about who and what you think you are. But basically, more primarily on the basis of who you think you are. You're letting that go to find out the what that you truly are. And that what that you truly are is the actual broadcast or the base or the station of LOVE. You getting to that process is LOVE. You getting to that process is love. Being negative, like electrons, it's a negative component circling the nucleus of an atomic nucleus. You're letting go, you're being negative. You're in a negative state, a negative quality, a negative action, a negative expression. You're letting go to find out, or you're letting things be so that you can find the being that you truly are. So you're letting go of your personality, or you're not giving your personality that much attention, your present personality, you're not giving the behavior created, the character it shows itself to be. You're not involving yourself in that or participating in that anymore. You're not engulfed in that. You're not indulging in that illusion anymore. You're letting it be, but you're not, at the same time, you're not giving it attention, which means you're not giving it life anymore. You're letting it die on its own. You're letting it wither away like dandelions in the wind. Like how dandelions fly on a windy day is how you're letting layers of yourself that you have created, the personality and personalities that you've created, you're letting them go, or you're letting them find their way by not giving it attention anymore, because you want to see what's underneath, or what have these personality costumes and these behavioral masks and these character costume and mask. You're trying to get rid of the costumes and the masks to see the true and full embodiment of what you truly are. Not who you are, but what you are. That is what love is. So if you're doing things to find love, that's asinine. It doesn't make any sense. It's oxymoronic. You cannot find it in another person. You can only find it, or find the naked being of its true beingness within you. But first, you have to take off the clothes and the layers and the robes, the clothing. You have to take off all of this and the clothes and the layers and the robes and everything that is basically a metaphor for personality, personalities, behaviorisms, things that the brain kind of keep you involved in rather than the heart, right? Judgment, emotion, you know, things that throw you off kilter, off radar, off center. Things that manipulate you to a different state of being that you don't really find, that you don't really favor or find beneficial to your personal growth or enhancement of self. You're not giving that attention anymore. You're letting it wither away or find its way. So it's an unlayering and an unraveling. And this is what true LOVE is. This is what true love or loving or to be loved like really is. And that's why the word love backwards is evolve. If you put a VE at the end of that, that means it spells evolve. So it's to evolve. But in order to evolve spiritually, you have to first unravel humanly. To evolve the heart, you have to devolve the brain. Because you are what you're trying to find and what you're searching in another person, which can't be found. You are that already, which is why you can't find it and you never will find it. Anytime it gets like a little bit happy moments here and there, it's always going to be a sour place because you haven't found that true sweetness within yourself. Okay? So this is what it means when I say to be loved is to be negative. Let's look at the word nega. Nega. That comes from the word naga. Now, what is a naga? Just a definition of it. A member of a sub-divine, which is a pre-divine being, a sub-divine race which is actually a pre-divine being. Part human, part cobra in form, associated with water and sometimes with mystical initiation. So what does Naga really mean? In other words, another way of understanding. It means you have to become fluid-minded. You have to become fluid-minded with your own uniquely created rituals of self-initiation. To remain in a constant flowing of pure energy, relaxed but alert, self-consumed but aware. It's an unknown fluidity. You have to become your own self-initiator. You have to initiate yourself. You have to have your own personal initiation. And it's a ritual. The ritual is the whole process of what I explained in the beginning, is not giving these things attention, not investing your emotion and taxing your emotion, not zapping the energy which you have and focusing on things that are temporary, but rather giving attention in life to that which is permanent. So understand what I'm saying? So that's what Naga means as far as Nega. Their definition, or the definition that we find in dictionary, or if you Google it, it just means a member of a sub-divine race. But it's not a sub-divine, it's actually a pre-divine. It's prior. It's a pre-divine being, or pre-divine beings. Part human, part cobra in form, associated with water and sometimes with mystical initiation. The Naga is also, it's incorporated and connected to the understanding of snakes. And when you understand snakes, and you look at certain hieroglyphs or certain things that our ancestors left for us, or those who were before us, who didn't have so much public and social distractions, they were into the understanding of the unknown, the understanding of the invisible, the transparent, transparency, translucence, which was basically energy forms, energy. So this is why Nega is Naga, energy, electricity, the electron, negativity. See, all the connections meet. So once again, we're talking about love is a negative thing. To be loving or love like, or to be love, is to be negative, to be a negative quality, to be in negative action, in negative expression, expressing the negative qualities. You see, being the actionary of the quality of negativity, the understanding of what negative is. What is negative? Negative, positive, positive, negative, they're just polarities of each other. They share one mirror. It's just two different sides of the same damn mirror. And just different actions. Positive brings things to you and gathers and collects. Negative lets things go, or keeps things at a distance. Positive keeps things immediate, negative keeps things, or positive keeps things local, negative keeps things distant. But just enough where they can still see it, witness it, understand certain things, which is why you create space within the personalities that you have created. See, so our whole understanding of what we know as love is totally backwards. Okay? And inside out and upside down. So basically, like I said, you have to become fluid-minded with your own uniquely created rituals of self-initiation. You have to become fluid-minded. You have to create a certain kind of mental state which is based in the principles of fluidity. You have to move with the current. You have to be one with the energy. See, no stagnated energy. And any stagnant energy or blocked energy or blockages will show themselves and will prove themselves to be once you're in the state and motion of fluidity. Then you'll see which personalities are blocking or which characters or behaviors or certain mind states or emotions or ways of thinking or ways of doing and these kind of things that were all hidden and invisible and may have been under the radar now pop up over the radar, on the radar, and on the surface for you to see and witness, for you to make the correction and create space between you and it, which some people may call detach or let go and all this, whatever. You're just seeing the space that exists between you and it. Once you realize the space that exists between you and your personality or personalities, you and your ways of thinking, the thoughts, and who you think you are. Once you witness the gap between this and that, just witnessing the gap expands the gap, creates a bigger space, and therefore you're not so attached to that thing, which you create a negative quality. You begin letting things drift. Okay, let's not say let go or detaching. You're letting things drift like a rift on the face of an open sea. You're letting it go its way. You're not holding on to it, you're not pushing it away. You're just redirecting your attention elsewhere. Where am I redirecting my attention to? You're redirecting your attention on yourself. But you have to first cease identifying with these false, created, made up identities. These identities that we call personalities are created for this illusion that we are in at the moment. Sometimes you need to be this character in that kind of area. Sometimes you need to be this kind of personality in that kind of atmosphere, this personality and character in that type of environment. But we don't get glued to these things. We just let them be when they're supposed to be. But we make sure that we see them. But you don't, seeing and giving attention are two totally different things. Witnessing and giving attention to something are two totally different things. You're just witnessing and seeing your personality, characters, and behaviors, and mindsets, and emotional states that you created, and thoughts that you've created. But you're no longer participating and involving in them anymore. You're letting them find their way. You're letting them drift wherever they shall be, wherever they shall fall. This is love. LOVE. This is the negative state of being because you want to find what you truly are underneath these different masks and costumes that you have created. See what I'm saying? So you just want to see what's there. After you let go or you let things drift and you don't give it attention anymore as much as you gave it before, let the intelligence work itself out on its own. And all will be revealed to you. But that all is something I can't tell you. It's not something anybody else can tell you. It's something that you have to witness on your own and become one with on your own. And you can't ask somebody, well, what is the love that I am? Or what is the thing that I am once I truly begin to love myself? Nobody knows that answer. Nobody can know that answer. Nobody will know that answer. It's impossible. It's an impossibility. Only you are the one which will be revealed that truth. Nobody else can see it. Nobody else can be it but you. Okay? This is what we call love. It's actually a very private and personal thing. It has nothing to do with Tom, Dick, and Harry, Jane, Beth, and Jill. It has nothing to do with this person, that person, her, him, them. It has nothing to do with that. Love is not based on quantity, which is numbers. Love is based on quality, which is self. You can only be it. You can only emanate it. You can only illuminate it. See, and those that see that light, or those that see that thing shining within you that you are being, like moths are drawn to a light, or moths are drawn to a fire, or bugs are drawn to a fire. It'll just happen. That's a positive thing when things are just drawn to things. But you don't ask for positivity or positive nature when you're truly being a negative nature. To be loving is to be a negative nature, to be of a negative nature, or a nature of negativity, the nature of negativity. You can't request or beg or wish or hope or desire positivity when you are in a negative quality. It doesn't make sense. You're letting things be so that you can see. You see what I'm saying? Moths drawn to a light, bugs drawn to a flame or fire. It's a consequence, it's an effect. The positivity or the positive nature of things is an effect or a consequence of you self being in a negative state, in a negative quality. It's something that will happen. It's not something that you have to request and beg for and put out there. And I'm looking for somebody to love. I'm looking for somebody to love me. And that's just begging. You see, there's a big difference. Love is not a positive thing. It doesn't look to gather. Love doesn't care to gather. Love is not trying to collect. Love is not trying to group up. Love likes being alone. Love enjoys being to itself because that's where it's at. There is no other place that exists for it. That is what it is. That is the epitome of its understanding, of its nature. You understand what I'm saying? Next line doorway is, this kind of validates it again. To be love is to be negative. Love is a negative force or a permeating energy presence, an emanating occurrence without any concern or focus of a positive gather. It's a break off, not a coagulating agent. It's electric, not a magnetic quality. Magnetism is just the possible result or outcome of its electricity or electrical nature. I just broke down a little bit what I just said before in a different way. It is electric, an elected trick, a formless formation of magic which was chosen to be brought forth. This is what love is. Let's broke it down again. It is a negative force. It is a permeating energy presence. You're just in permeation mode. You're just permeating. It's oozing out of your pores. It's seeping from the waves of your energy. Because you are just being it. You are the epitome of it. You are one with it. You are it and it is you. There is no space for anything else to take its place. There's no space in between. It's a permeation, negativity. It's a negative force, negativity. It's just this. Positivity is like this. Negativity is like this. You understand? It's an emanating occurrence without any concern or focus of a positive gather, which is why I say it doesn't have to say, I want love, I want to be loved, or I need love, or I'm searching for love, or I'm looking for love. That's a personality, that's not you. That's not what love is. That's not what it is. That's just you and your personality. You're lacking something, you have a void, and you're just trying to fulfill your human void. But that's not what love is. Love doesn't care to gather because things come around it as a consequence, outcome, result, and effect of its negative nature. Like performers, Michael Jackson, you have these different performers that perform. James Brown, they did their thing on stage right in front of you. They didn't give a damn. They didn't give a shit whether people were looking, staring at them. They were in a negative state. They were in a love state or a state of love or a negative or the nature of love. They were in a negative energy. They were showing. That's negative. This is negative. And since they were in a negative state, they loved what they did. However, they were doing the dance moves, the singing, they were in a loving state by being in a negative quality. And off that negative quality of them being in that loving state, doing what they were doing, the effect of it, the outcome, the result, the consequence of it was a gathering crowd of people, a gathering audience, a packed stadium. See what I'm saying? A packed place, crowds, cameras, attention, because they were being of a negative quality by doing their thing, being zoned out into their self, loving their craft, their nature, loving their talent, embracing their gift, had nothing to do with people. They were possessed. They were one with the love in them. See, this is the difference. I'm just breaking down the difference and make it a little more simple to understand. Love is an animation. It's a way of animating. It makes the human body animate. Love isn't a human body, it isn't a body, but the effect that love has on the human being, the beingness of itself, the effect that the beingness of itself has on the human being makes the human want to start doing, which is what we call animation. So, love is an animation in the human body. Love is not animation, but in the human body animates when it makes that contact and connection with the beingness of love. So the human being animates when it makes the connection with the beingness of love within itself, being true to its nature, being true to its craft, being true to its art, true to its gift, true to its mind, true to its talent, true to its path, true to its mission, self engulfed, consumed, fully consumed, self consumed. Love is an animation. The animation itself is witnessed by others and defined as an expression. You see, so when the human being makes contact with this true beingness and keeps that connection and that contact with itself, at one with itself, the human being starts to animate that. And as the human being animates that, it's witnessed, that animation that the human being is animate is witnessed by others and defined as expression. So love itself is not an animation. Love itself is not an expression. But when the human being makes that connection with the love itself, the human being begins to animate. It gives love a certain kind of personality or a certain kind of character or a certain kind of behavior to it through the human being's personality or the human being's vehicles of personalities. And that animation is witnessed and seen by others and pointed at and defined and saying that's expression. But love itself is not an animation nor an expression, it just is. It's just a human being being one with its own true, divine, pure beingness. Okay? Let's make that crystal ball clear for y'all. Alright. Let's move on to the next one. Before that, quick commercial break. Y'all know how I do. Give me 1 nanosecond. Alright. Let's get this out the way. It's about to get a lot more realer and a lot more clearer. Alright? It's about to get a lot more clearer. Now, the next thing I'm touching upon is the next thing and last thing is 21 points of what love is. Okay? 21 points of what love is. First point is love is self-liberation. Which means to rescue the askew. What does askew mean? What is askew? Well, it's really the word askew. So the first point is to rescue the askew. Now, what does askew mean? Askew is something which is off a straight line, uncentered but still leveled. Now, if you look at the biology of a body, as far as organs and muscles and things of that nature, and you look at the heart is sort of centered, but it's slightly to the left. Or it's centered, but a part of it kind of protrudes more to the left side of the body. Or it may protrude more to the right side of the body, because different people's bodies, different biologies, different centered from different places. Everybody's organs are in the same damn place, but they all have a kind of common science to each one. They all meet kind of in the middle to some degree of understanding. So the heart is a little off-centered, uncentered, but level. So the heart itself is off the straight line of your spine and uncentered, but it's still leveled and balanced amongst the organs and the muscles and everything else within the biology of the body. So number one is self-liberation, to rescue the askew. You know, I'm a wordologist, so I'm a wordsmith, so I like to play with words, which is you heard in my music. That's on my channel, of course, other videos on my channel. I'm a wordsmith by nature. It's natural. So self-liberation, to rescue the askew. To rescue that which is off-center, basically. To rescue that which is off-balance, which means to rescue your heart. So it's to rescue the thing which is uncentered and off the straight line or off the straight, yeah, off the straight line or off the straight alignment of the biology of the body and skeletal structure of the body, if you want to say for different understanding. So that's the part that you're here to rescue. This is what love is. You're here to rescue that. You're here to rescue your heart. And in rescuing your heart, the brain interferes. Because we're in the polarity where both are battling for supremacy. See, which is why we have all these polarities, but there's only two sides to each, you know, good and evil, pure and impure, God, devil, heaven, hell, good, bad, negative, positive. So we're like in the middle witnessing these two polarities or these two supremacies. I don't want to say fight, but calling for our attention as much as possible to keep itself valid in our existence. And we play with these things within our experience. Okay? I don't get too crazy with that. Anyway, love is self-liberation to rescue the askew. You're on a rescue or rescuing mission. It's basically the rescue is also the risk of you or the risking of you. The risk of you or the risking of you that needs to take place between time and space in order to liberate. And to liberate is to libate, which means the holding of a live libation. Once again, you have to have your own ritual. You have to create your own ceremony, privately and silently within yourself. Every time you feel that you might be falling off the grid or off the radar of being love or being loving or being love like to yourself, within yourself, as yourself, by yourself. Okay? So to rescue the askew, you're on a rescue or rescuing mission. So if you want to know what love is, then you have to be on a rescuing mission. Then you are on a rescuing mission. You're here to rescue the heart. This is what you're here to rescue, the heart. The green chakra, what they call the green chakra. The green chakra. Okay? And the rescue is also the risk of you or the risking of you. The risk that you take. In order to liberate. Liberate and libate is the same thing. You know, libation means you're calling amongst, or you're calling up, or evoking, or invoking certain energy forms, certain things that take place and take space within you, beyond the brain's understanding. But all in all, it's still a real thing. You're calling amongst energies to guide you to get to the heart. So to liberate is also to libate. Negative, positive, get to negative, negative, and positive is science. And science is the word seance. Ritual, ceremony, libate, libation, seance, same damn thing. So basically, you have to have your own ritual. Be of your spiritual nature in order to be of love. You have to incorporate your spiritual nature somewhere within this damn method. You have to incorporate it within this practice, within this mission, within this rescuing mission, to rescue the askew, to rescue that which is off-centered but balanced and leveled, which is your heart. It's the whole point. Okay? It's the pure, which is the heart, being held hostage by the unpure or the unsure, which is the brain. So the pure, the heart, being held hostage by the unpure or unsure part of you, which is the brain. So the brain is holding the heart hostage. You have to be somewhere in the middle to see this and witness this. this interaction going on in order to complete the rescuing mission. But first, you have to witness the space in order to increase the space, in order to receive the intelligence of that divine gap, in order to go on your mission, your rescuing mission, okay? Second point is to oppose the program and or witness the program that's at hand. Program being the brain, being the ego, being the personality. Witness the experience as much as you experience the experience. And I've said this plenty of times in many of my damn videos. You have to know how dealing with relationships, how to be in the experience, and also how to witness the experience at the same time, which is once again from this space to that, from this place to that place, there's a space in between. Acknowledge the space. And this is also the understanding and incorporation of principle, the truth of principle. Okay? Once again, with this video, dealing with love. You have to incorporate principle. You have to acknowledge principle. Give attention to principle. You give principle life, and it becomes a life in your experience. And you become that life. And you give it the experience, and in return, it gives you the experience of it. And in that interaction and interaction, you become one. Witness the experience as much as you experience the experience. For what? To identify the space which exists between the distance of both polarities, or both extremes, both extremities. The principle of switch, meaning how you can switch to this and switch to that. You can be mad one time, all of a sudden like, I don't want to be mad, let me not chill with that, let me just be sensitive, let me be joyful, let me be blissful, I don't want to be angry and pissed off, let me be centered and balanced when you're off balance. To identify the space between the distance of polarities, both extremes. The principle of switch, how you can switch from one mind state to another, validates the existence of space between the two directions of attention. In order to locate, you have to travel. Understand what I just said? If I know I'm pissed off, and I don't want to be pissed off, and I know I can just go into a different state, what I'm doing is it's one locale to another locale, one location to another location of mind, dealing with the understanding of mind. And then between one location and another location, there's distance. That distance, once again, is space, and that space is the intelligence of what we know as a gap. The principle of switch validates the existence of space between the two directions of attention. In order to locate, you have to travel. I travel from one mind state to another. I travel from one energy form into another energy form. See? So this is just once again helping you to recognize and realize, or assist you in helping you realize and recognize the intelligence of space which actually exists within your experience, in order, once again, to be of love. These are just things to keep in mind and heart. Kima. Kimah. Third point is be opening. What do you mean? In order to be open, you first have to identify the closings or blockings in order to open up Pandora's box. In order to open up Pandora's box, in order to turn that box into a circle and that circle into a spiral or spiraling effect, which is the entering and exiting aspect, the escape effect. You remain open, which is open, for the opening potential to cross over and activate itself, which is the love, for your new awakening or present awakening. It is an unknown intelligence which remains that you eventually utilize to sustain. So, in order to be open for the love, in order to be open to become acquainted with the love that you are, in order to be open to it, you have to first identify the closings or blockings of it that you have created. To open up Pandora's box, well, why would I want to open up Pandora's box? Well, you want to open up Pandora's box in order to turn that box into a circle, and then that circle into a spiral. A circle is a closed off thing. A spiral is something that cuts in somewhere. So there's an opening, an exiting, and an entering. You're leaving yourself an exiting and an entering gateway for yourself to escape something or to get into something, to get out of something or to get into something. You always want to leave that open because as soon as you get too deep, you want to make sure you have an out. And if you get too far, you want to make sure that you have a doorway to get back in. So the spiral is older than the circle. And the box, anything with corners is consolidated energy. The box is consolidated energy, which means that the corners, you get stuck in these corners, which is what you call illness, sickness, imbalance, going crazy, going insane, getting stuck in your thoughts. These are corners or consolidated energy, which is why spiders and stuff and bugs and spider webs and flies get caught in the corners of your room and your apartment, in your house, your living room, your bedroom, your kitchen, your bathroom, underneath the tub, behind the toilet, underneath the sink, on top of the shower. I mean, everything that has corners gets stuck as consolidated energy, which is where you get stuck at mentally. So you're turning Pandora's box into a circle, and you're turning that circle into a spiral. This is the intelligence to get out of the corners. So, in order to be open, you have to first identify the closings and blockings. To open up Pandora's box, in order to turn that box into a circle and that circle into a spiral or a spiraling effect, which is the entering and exiting aspect. The escape aspect, which means to escape in, to escape out. You remain open, which is open, for the opending potential to cross over and activate itself for your new awakening, which becomes your present awakening. And this is a quickening stage. It's an unknown intelligence which remains that you eventually utilize to sustain. This body is governed under the laws and principles of accumulation and coagulation, according to the brain, which gets discovered in veins and arteries and disguised as energy markers. Once again, stuck energy, coagulated energy, blocking yourself up, blocking yourself in. If you want to remain open to love and be of love, you have to first be open, which means you have to be opending. You have to be the opending potential for all possibilities to be and become, or to be in order for you to become, or for you to realize what you've always been, what you thought you had to chase and find in someone else. But this is what you've always been. It's a beautiful discovery. And once you discover it, you explore it. See, so you get more and more innate, you get more and more insidious, you get more and more inside yourself. You see why this is a negative? To be love is to be negative. You're going in, you're not caring what's on the outside. So that which is on the outside no longer gets your attention because you're so involved on the inner you. And it's not like you're letting go of layers or you're detaching from shit. No. You find no importance and relevance of giving it your attention anymore because you're so engulfed in self. So you kind of ignore it naturally. You're not trying to get away from it. You're not trying to run away from your personality. I'm trying to run away from this. Once you do that, and you validate something, that something is there, therefore you keep it there. But there's no need to say that something is there. Just go inside. Whatever keeps inside, it pulls you deeper. Then you open that up, and then something inside there pulls you deeper. Then you open that up, and then something inside there pulls you deeper. And you just get so innate. You get so insidious. You get so inside. You get so inner that the outer layers begin to fall off and drift wherever they may fall and drift to. And you don't care. Naturally, you just don't care. It's not something that you care about. So this is why to be love is to be negative. Because you're not trying to gather people around you. You're not trying to find a beautiful woman or a beautiful man or a loving woman or a loving man or a loving person. You don't care for it. And it's not like you don't care because you don't care. You don't care because you don't have a care. You don't possess a care to seek that. The principle of seek does not exist when you are of love or loving or being love like, which is being to yourself, being of your essential core, being of your nucleus. You understand what I'm saying? And if you don't understand, you really got my email. Y'all can get in touch with me anytime. We can discuss this. Like I tell you, I also have personal consultations with people. Um, Most likely people in relationships and marriages and things of this nature. And I'm also working on the second book as well, which will be out pretty soon. I'll give you the date pretty soon, sooner or later. It's going to be powerful. Even more powerful than the first one that's out now. Enough of that infomercial. The fourth point of love is remaining clear. Remaining clear as much as possible to always be in reception of your calling and your message. Why am I remaining clear? Why should I remain clear? You want to remain clear as much as possible to always be in receiving mode. To always be open to that call or that message, that divine call and that divine message that's always trying to communicate to you and through you. So you want to remain clear. This is what love is, to remain clear. To remain spiritually lax from cellular massage activity. To be willing and remain willing in order to sustain clarity. So basically, always be willing. You can't learn shit until you're willing to learn something. You can't receive something until you're willing to receive it. To be willing, once again, is the third or the second point, the third point of love, which is to be open, to always be pending. The pending potential, to always be the potential. Because if you just remain potential, then you can become any possibility that follows that potential intelligence. Okay? So remaining clear as much as possible to always be in reception mode of your calling and your divine message. To remain spiritually relaxed. From what? How? From cellular massage activity. Well, how does that happen? Let the heart pump, let it beat. And I've touched upon this before in different aspects. The beating of the heart is the massaging of the lungs. The massaging of the lungs is the more calm of the breath. The more calm of the breath, the more clear the mind. The more clear the mind, the more receptive and open you are to anything trying to communicate to you and through you, which is within you. But it is as you and you are as it. If you just let the shit talk to you, let it talk to you and let it walk through you, then you can talk as it and walk as it. Be it. But first you have to see it. In order to see it, you have to receive it. Okay? To be willing and remain willing. Why? In order to sustain clarity. Clarity. Your brain will never be clear. The mind is the clear aspect. The brain is not the clear aspect. It's memories, past thoughts, sensations, stimulation. That's not the clearest aspect. The heart, the mind is the clearest aspect, okay? Fifth point is to be love is to be of an unknown faith or to have trust in an unknown faith. An unknown and unquestionable trust or trusting in an undeniable absolute. It is the divine feel right, the unknown, unshown surety. So, love is to be love. Love is in a way of understanding and experiencing. It is an unknown faith that you possess. You don't know why you possess. You don't know why it's there. You don't know why you're being it. You don't know why you feel this way or why you're being this way. But you just have faith in this unknown quality. It's an unknown phenomenon. You have faith in the unfathomable, faith in the unknown, and you don't know why you have it. And on top of that, you don't even care why. You don't even care to know why you have it. It's just something that is an unknown, unshown surety. It's not showing itself. It's unknown, but it's sure, and you feel sure in the grasp and presence of its unfathomed nature, and it's and you're in it unknowingly with the faith moving towards it, as it, and within it, unbeknownst to you, but you don't even care because it just feels it's an undeniable absolute, an unknown and unquestionable trust or trusting in an undeniable absolute thing. Okay? If you can understand that. The sixth point is a few more points left. A clearing, love is a clearing of interference and interruption. What do you mean by that? Because of a highly concentrating centering of focus. Nothing throws you off, but instead throws you in or turns you on. Every possible distraction only makes the focal point sharper. Now, focus and distraction, distraction and focus are polarities of itself, of each other. But it's to a point where when you're in a loving state, even things that distract you make your focus clearer and stronger. Because you know that things are distracting you only because you are focused. One polarity becomes more stronger or intense or enhances itself because the other polarity is getting your attention more in that moment. That's the reason why other things happen or the other polarity begins to view itself or glow because there's so much in the direction of its twin polarity, which is the focus. Because of a highly concentrating centering of focus. Nothing throws you off, but instead throws you in. Every possible distraction only makes the focal point sharper. You acknowledge the knowledge of how that polarital intelligence operates. Meaning what? Meaning, you know that when a possible distraction appears, that in itself is evidence that you're spiritually focused and lining up with your path, with your mission. because you know that one polarity surfaces when the other is being given more attention in that moment. So even you can look at this in a different situation, when shit is getting worse in your life, or you call worst or bad, or it's not lining up as much. It seems like it's not lining up as much. It's because it's actually lining up perfectly to a T. See what I'm saying? One polarity validates the other twin polarity. So instead of giving focus to what may be in that moment that's happening, may also want to keep in mind of its twin polarity as well, because that may actually be happening, which is why this one is showing itself off so much. Like I said before, people have twin children, or you have a daughter and a son. When you're giving the daughter all the attention, the son does some shit to make you look at him and say, "Why you drop that glass for? Or why you pulling my shirt while I'm playing with your sister?" Because he's not getting the attention that he wants. But he's acting out more, getting more of your attention, making more of the noise and the madness and the chaos in the house. But why is he doing that? Because you're giving attention to his sister or his twin brother more. See, so something happening doesn't necessarily mean that it's actually happening or taking place in precedence within you. The other thing happening means that the other thing is actually more intense. So the more distractions that come, that you see and witness, that happen around your cipher, around your orbit, is actually because you are very well focused in what you are doing internally, especially if these distractions are external. That means that you're doing some real critical work internally. And stay focused on that, because that is to be of love. That is a negative quality. To be love is to be negative. Be negative, my friend. Be like water, my friend. Like Bruce used to say. Be negative. The 7th point is love is being to the absolute. That which you just know is absolute and exact within you and as you. It's something you just privately and innately feel to be and become immediately. That which you just know is absolute and exact within you and as you. You just know it's absolute and it's exact. And exact doesn't mean measurement, doesn't mean numbers, doesn't mean degrees, doesn't mean any of that shit. It's something that is beyond explanation, something that is beyond definition, something that is beyond description. It doesn't make sense to the logical mind, which means that it's outside of the brain, which means that it resides within the heart, which means that it's imbuing the spirit, getting connected or contacting the soul. All these things connect. So to be love is to be of that which you know is absolute and exact within you and as you. It's something you just privately and innately feel to be and then become immediately. You just know it and you become it. You know it and you show it. The 8th point is love is just doing and not caring to know the reasons for the doings. Love is just doing and not caring to know the reasons for the doings that you are doing. To veer your focus further and further away from the personality. You become obsessed or infatuated somewhat like with the principle of utilization. Okay, meaning what? Meaning you're now always looking to use and utilize mind tools to gain access into deeper and deeper depths of the dimension of the heart. You seek, and maybe yearn to get lost and become lost within the unknown dimensions of the heart, which is quietly speaking to you. to come discover and explore its unbounded existence, which becomes the divine purpose in your experience, knowingly or unknowingly to you. It speaks to you. Like I tell people sometimes they have these problem situations in their life. I say, just put your hand in your heart. Put your left hand in your heart. The left hand is magnetic. The right hand is electric. Be receiving. Put the receiving part on your heart. And just be quiet. Quiet. Be still. And be quiet. And be open and be receiving to what you receive from it. It's pure. It's innocent. And it communicates. It's going to take you deeper and deeper into the unknown depths of the dimension which it exists in. It speaks to you quietly and silently and privately. Some people ball up, some people cry their eyes out, some people go through all kind of emotional turmoil or trauma, just putting their hand on their heart for a minute and being still and being silent. All kind of shit happens. They're being receptive to that which is beating a language. The heartbeat is a beating language or a language of a beat. It moves you. It gets in touch with your muse, which is in touch with your midichlorian or the midichlorial intelligence, which is the intelligence that exists between, once again, the life force and the living being. It contacts that deep innate aspect within you. Okay? And you will get what you're supposed to receive and get. And it will be very clear to you what you need to do and be. Okay? This is what love is. Once again, seeing you being so engulfed in your heart and the communication that's going on. You don't care about your personality or shame or embarrassment and all these other terms that make you glued to the ego and the personality or the false personalities or the created personalities, let me say, that you created throughout your experiences in your life. You don't become as glued to them anymore. They become kind of irrelevant, unimportant. You notice their temperance or temporary nature rather than that which resides permanently underneath it. The next line in doorway is, or the next point of love is, this is the 10th point, or the 9th point, getting lost in principle. Love is to get lost in principle. This is what love is, to get lost in principle. It is to just serve principle as principle itself. You're serving principle as a principle of serve or serving. You're serving. You're being the principle of serve. And you're serving principle. So just serving principle as principle itself. Interacting as principle. Communicating in principle. Letting the personality or the personal things roam on its own to find its own place within the existence of your separated time and space. You no longer primarily function as the personality. You're now creating and or recreating your own law of transparency for supreme rulership over the visible and distinguished. So you're getting lost in principle, completely lost in principle. I'm here to make it more clear to you what I mean by when I say love is negative. I don't want people to say, oh, love is negative. What do you mean? Love is wrong? Does he mean love is bad? Does he mean love is impure? Does he mean love is evil? It's a negative thing? No, you don't look at this title in judgment. Because if you look at it in judgment, wrong and right, bad and evil, you don't look at it as you're giving this spiritual principle understanding to the brain. You're not letting it fall and reside within the heart. You're not letting it find residence within the heart. The heart doesn't judge. The brain judges. Which means that you give this spiritual understanding to the ego. Now the ego owns it. So you can hear some spiritual shit. But where's it going, to the brain or the heart? How are you receiving it? And this shows you where you're at, even in your spiritual path or your spiritual development. People say I'm spiritual, and then they hear something spiritual and they take it in judgment. That's not alignment according to this path. Okay. So you no longer primarily function as a personality. You now operate and function as principality primarily, because you're now creating and or recreating your own law of transparency for supreme rulership over the visible and the distinguished. You're creating your own law. You're creating your own you. You're Frankensteining your own, a brand new you. You're making your own personality, not some personality that was given to you and was seeded in you as a child and flowered into your adulthood. You're seeding yourself. You're pulling that flower and weeds out that soil and planting that new seed of principle in a brand new soil, in a different geography. And you're creating the new you. A personality or personalities that support and uphold the new you, which is actually the true you. Okay? The 10th point is love is to no longer volunteer in judgment or judging. Judgment and or judging. No longer volunteering that. But judging or judgment where? Judging yourself and judging others. Judgment in yourself, within yourself, and judgment upon others. You no longer volunteering that. This is to be of love. To no longer volunteer in an involuntary absolute function of mind. What does that mean? Meaning no longer validating something which naturally validates itself. No longer activating something which keeps itself activated. It's something that's involuntary. It knows what to do. It doesn't need you to tell it what to do. Somebody comes outside and they're walking to the grocery store. There's a grocery store to the left of their block and a grocery store to the right of their block. If they're walking to the grocery store on the left of to the right of their block, and they look to the right, and there's a shootout happening, the person's going to automatically may redirect themselves and go to the left corner store. It's not something that you need to judge and say, oh, that's bad. That's wrong. That's evil. I'm going this way instead. It's its own navigation. So you no longer voluntary, or you no longer volunteer. You no longer become voluntary in the involuntary intelligence of which it is. You no longer waste your energy, your time, and space, and your mind on something that just is and will be, with or without your participation in it. It's an intelligence on its own. Have faith within it of its own nature, according to its own accordance. It knows it will do what it is supposed to do. You don't need to volunteer in that or participate in that. Give attention to it. Manually direct it or manually redirect it. You don't have to do that. It just knows what to do. Which is why once it goes back to the other point before, having an unknown faith in the intelligence of faith itself. Okay? The 11th point of love is to surrender. Love is to surrender, which means to no longer conduct, produce, and invest your emotions into the frivolous or irrelevance. To cast aside all that doesn't serve your best interest and have it serve you and your path's purpose instead. To end, to cease all that's been prevailing under the radar or under the scope of your awareness, consciousness, and gnosis. So you're ceasing it. You're no longer investing your emotions into things that are irrelevant. You're casting aside all things that don't serve your best interest, and instead you have those things serve your best interest in return, as the return effect or the consequence or the effect of the cause that you are committing. Okay? And to end, to cease all that's prevailing under the radar or scope of your awareness, your consciousness, and your gnosis. These things have been prevailing under your radar and underneath your scope of your awareness and your consciousness and your gnosis, which is your knowing, your knowledge of self, self-knowledge. So you're ending that whole damn game. Okay? So you surrender. You know you no longer conduct and produce and invest your emotions into things that don't serve you. And those things that don't serve you, you do a certain kind of science on it, and in turn it begins serving you. You no longer serve it. And when you no longer serve it, it automatically begins to serve you. Take command. This is what love is, to be negative. These are the sheets or the layers or the masks and costumes that were kept alive with your intention. But when you redirect your attention outward, when your attention is outward and you redirect it inward, these things that were created begin to either fly off, drift off, or they begin to turn towards you and start to serve you at your best interest. Okay. The 12th point of what love is love is to yield. Love is to yield. To yield to what? To yield to who? When? Where? How? To yield and lower your shield. To cease all resistance in an instance. To invite, you inviting yourself in order to ignite the self. So you're going inside because you were invited inside. Invited inside where? The heart. And once you're invited inside the heart, that invitation, that travel to that invitation that you got and that travel to the destination of where the invitation came from is what we call love, is to be negative once again. You're no longer paying attention to the outside layers. So to yield is to lower your shield, which is to lower your ego, your shame, embarrassment, to give that shit up. You don't even care about it anymore. To yield is to lower your shield. To cease all resistance in an instance. Stop resisting. Be open, receiving. To invite in order to ignite. To turn on that light inside that heart. To be of love, of true love. The act of yielding is the acknowledgement and application of principle. The act of yielding, the action of yielding is the acknowledgement and application of principle. And the lowering of the shield is the annihilating of the personality or the redirecting attention off of the personality. The moment you give in is the moment that you are given. When you give in, to this, then you are given this. The undeniable and inevitable divine law and truth of polarity and or reciprocity. Soon as you enter into, you yourself becomes entered into. So soon as you enter into, you yourself becomes the reciprocation to be entered into. And that entering into this and this entering into you, you become that one meeting, that one join, that one thing, that one intelligence, and you move as love. You become, you unravel and get to the core of your essence. You be love. You be the love. You be that negative nature. You be that negative action. You are negative and negativity. That electron. 13th point of love is to identify the different communications between you and the heart and the different communications between you and the brain. You are not the heart, really, you are not the brain, but these are just devices. These are things or utilizations that you utilize. These are the law of the crossroads, the recognition and identification of the fork in the road, the chart of the left and right hemispheres of the brain. So you have to be able to identify the different communications between you and your heart and the different communications between you and your brain. Okay? The 14th point of love is to be in motion rather than emotion. Love is to be in motion rather than emotion. To no longer give a life to something which potentially possesses a life of its own anyway. Your personality already possesses a certain kind of life because you gave it so much damn attention. Why are you giving more life to it if it possesses its own life already? Let that life die on its own by redirecting your attention. To no longer give a life to something which potentially possesses a life of its own anyway. Being more than you are doing, while knowing that all your doingness is nothing but a secondary expression of your beingness. Programming your doingness to be an immediate direct reflection of your true beingness. To become the animating representation of the heart. To become the animating representation of the heart rather than the modeled animation of the brain. To fulfill permanence rather than to satisfy temporal. Rewind that a few times. So I could break that down for days, weeks, and months. Just rewind that part if you need a little more clarity. 15.15 on love is to give away. One thing when we talked about before, to give away. We're not gonna talk about detach. We're not gonna talk about unattach or to release or let go. To giving away. It's another way of looking at it, another way of wording it. Love is to give away. To unlayer, undress, and unravel the created temporary garments which cloth over the permanent esoteric embodiment, which permeates its essence through the many esoteric coverings over itself. To identify the pullover that was pulled over. This is what love is. So, I've explained that many different ways before. So I just want to just keep going real quick. Point 16 is love is to no longer volunteer in looking back or going backwards. To remain forward with no need to look for a word to define itself as or bind itself by. Or bound itself by. To be the smoke outside of the box rather than the smoke inside of the box. To be an agent of chaos rather than a perfected agent. So you want to always be in perfecting mode. Perfecting mode. The ing at the end makes a big difference of a word because it means an ongoing thing. So you want to remain forward with no need to look for a word. To remain forward with no need to look for a word to define what forward mode that you are in that moment. You're not looking to put it into a word. You're not looking to put smoke into a box, because as soon as you put smoke in a box, you blow smoke in a box. When you blow smoke in a box, and when it's circling in that box, as soon as you close that box, smoke seeps out. The pressure of the box closing, smoke will seep out. So which means that smoke cannot be contained. And it's like spirit. Smoke is spirit. Spirit is principle. Smoke is principle. You can't put principle in a word. You can put it in a word in a moment for a quick second to have a discussion or a conversation when you're in communication with somebody. But in reality, there's nothing to call anything. A word, calling something a word or a title or a label just makes you feel comfortable around its presence, but it doesn't mean that it is that truly. You might say this is life, this is earth, this is the world, this is the planet, but is it really? I might call myself a human being, but am I really? These are just words. But your beingness presides and resides before a word is even spoken. Just you. I can stand here in front of you my whole life and not move. And I never have to tell you I'm standing in front of you. Just my action and my presence alone and my beingness alone speaks silent volumes for itself. This is a validation and confirmation. I don't have to say anything to you. Understand? Okay. 17th point of love is to seek and find your middle. To seek and find your middle. This is what love is. Once again, being negative. Getting to the core rather than the outside shelf shit. To first recognize and identify the illusional existence of two sides and or separation. Two sides and or separation. To understand that everything and anything is all about understanding, not favoritism. And in so doing, you don't necessarily find your middle. In reality, your middle finds you. Okay? You may want to rewind that 1 or 2 times to understand what I said right there. Point 18 is love is to be still and silent as much as possible, whenever possible. That's the only way to detect movement and hear sound. So to be still and silent as much as possible, whenever possible, is the only way to detect movement and to detect or hear sound. To detect movement is to be still. To hear sound is to be silent. Stillness and silence is, according to this path, is what we know as spiritual. Movement and sound is physical, which is to be of the body or to be of ego. Okay? According to this path. The 19th point of love is it's kind of similar, to no longer volunteer in reacting compulsively and unconsciously. Yeah, to no longer volunteer in reacting compulsively and unconsciously, which goes back to what I was saying before, kind of connects and ties into the same points I was making before. All right. Point number 20 is love is to identify your purity and your innocence, which is your heart. I said this is the most pure, this is the most innocent. So you want to identify your most pure and innocent aspect of self, of yourself and the self, itself, self. To discover and explore the heart's purpose. To discover and explore the heart's purpose as far as direction and navigation in life is concerned. To identify the different dimensions of intelligence that the body possesses, and to experience every form of intelligence with a clear consciousness and keen awareness. Why? In order to detect the most purest and innocent aspect of self. And the last point of love, the 21st point, the last point and 21st point of love is surrender, yield, witness, and respond, rather than accept, tolerate, and endure. Once again, to be of the spiritual nature or the spiritual core, rather than the egoistical shell. Am I as I am, most importantly, as you are, as this is, as it is. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, I'll keep you in vision. Love is a negative thing. Be negative, my friend. 1, 0.